guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video we'll be going through the Thursday night footy. As you can probably tell by the thumbnail, if you guys saw it, we're changing this week to the day reviews rather than the individual games, so it should make it a little bit easier for you guys to find the games. It'll be a little bit easier for you and for me, and we'll just make a better product in the end. So anyway, let's just jump into this Thursday night game. And yeah, again, this game pretty much proved that Carlton are one of the worst second half sides of, well, just in general, and probably one of the worst differentials, I would say, of a long time. I think it's about a 40-point swing from first half to second half per game, if you think about it, because I think they're plus 50 in the first half and then minus 110 in the second half through 4 games. So that is a 160-point swing across 4 games, so an average of 40 points per game swing, which, yeah, that's really bad to have that swing, and just shows that they are not running out games really well. Their third quarter this week was horrific. I think it was minus 29, and then the fourth quarter, obviously, I think they didn't, it might have been 2 goals to 2 or something like that, but it was still, it wasn't the greatest fourth quarter in its own right. They didn't really do much, and they kicked goals late in the fourth quarter anyway. It was 1 goal 2 to 2 goals 4, but they kicked the 1 goal that Collingwood kicked was early on in the quarter, and then they kicked 2 goals, 1 in the middle of the quarter and 1 late in the quarter anyway, so it was pretty much dead and buried by then. But still, they were just inefficient and everything, having said that. And after quarter time, after like 2 minutes to go in the first quarter, they kicked 3 goals 5 in basically 3 quarters, which just isn't good enough to win a game. And I genuinely think 0-4, their season is over, and that Voss will be the first guy sacked, because they leveraged their future. They went all in. Tassie's on the horizon. Could they be the team that falls is the big question, because TDK is probably going to leave, you would expect, soon, and they have no first round pick. Jagger will come back, but even if Jagger was in this side, they're not going to win games, Carlton. They'd probably be 1-3, maybe 2-2 if Jagger was back, and they'd still have to play Brisbane, Sydney. Have they played they've played the Hawks so far? Let me just double check the teams that they've played and teams that they still got to play. They've got West Coast next week. That could be interesting. West Coast probably lose still. Then they have North. North could legitimately cause an upset and win that game. Then they've got the Cats. They'll lose to the Cats. They'll lose to Adelaide at Adelaide. They'll probably beat St Kilda somehow. Then they've got Sydney. Sydney should have some of their players back by then, as that's in 7 weeks' time. That's roughly around the time that Papley is supposed to return. Then they've got GWS. They'll lose to GWS. Then they've got Essendon, and we're already looking post-bye as Essendon, and I've just said that they might win 3 games, maybe 2 games in that time. So if they go into the bye 2-9, their season's done. They're not coming back from that. So that's why I think that they need to get rid of Voss and get in a new coach that's actually going to implement something for the season, because this season's done for them. They're not coming back. They've got, I think, GWS, Sydney twice, maybe. Where is it? They've still got Brisbane twice, I believe. Or have they played Brisbane already? I think they've got Brisbane twice. Or do they just play them late on in the year? They've still got Hawthorn again. They've got 2 games against Essendon. They've got Collingwood again as well, which they'll lose to again. So you're already looking at another 3, at least 4 losses there. They do have the double ups against North Melbourne and West Coast, but if they lose one of those 4 games, that's really, they need to double up against North, and West Coast and North are a much better side, so I just don't see it with Carlton. But anyway, on to the Fantasy and SuperCoach scoring. We will order it by Fantasy just because. Darcy Cameron 126.91. He dominated TDK, especially after quarter time. TDK just looked a little bit lost. I will say that there was quite a few dumb free kicks in there, but there was dumb free kicks across the ground in the whole game. So yeah, that was pretty poor from the umpires. Just got blindsided, was in the wrong position like 3 or 4 times in the ruck contest, and just missed handballs and stuff like that, missed holding, etc. So I mean, it is always just a general toss-up 50-50 coin flip when you're in the ruck contest for free kicks and stuff like that. But Darcy Cameron came out on top. I thought he was the better ruckman in general, but I didn't think it was as gaping the hole comparative between the two, him and TDK. Schultz won the medal in the end for a 107-117. Not going to be fancy or SuperCoach relevant in the long run, but just a really outstanding game from him. 7 marks, 7 tackles is always going to be huge. That's 49 points and probably was about 50 odd SuperCoach points as well from those actions. Pendlebury somehow 8 and 21 handballs. He ended up on 100-106 split. Josh Dacos 99-91. He's always going to put in these type of performances, not be top 8 or top 10 defender, but just sort of off that next pack, I would say. Because you've got Perryman and Houston all in that, and also Nick Dacos, those ball users, as well as Scotty Pendlebury, all in that team, and there's just way too much to share around, so they kind of take it off each other. Perryman 95-101, we just knew this was going to happen. You just knew that once they got the team right and he was back in the midfield, that was going to happen. He did get lucky that they tactically subbed out Degoe. If that hadn't happened in the last quarter and they'd subbed out someone else, not out of that midfield, if they'd subbed out, say a McCreary or an Elliott or someone like that, or a Quainer, or someone like maybe even a Billy Frampton, you probably would have seen Perryman go down back and just ruin his scoring. But they didn't, and he scores really well. And those that held him, I don't think many would have held him, to be honest with you. I was looking at Hewitt last night. That's how long ago this was. You've got Perryman at 69.3 average for the year, 11% ownership. So yeah, not really an impactful scoring, I would say. And then you've got Steele Sidebomb, absolutely efficient as ever. 13 contest possessions, 7 clearances. He looks good. And somehow they have 1 or 2 down games, these older guys, and then they just come absolutely roaring back. Dan Houston, 80-103, but he's getting 2+, so not relevant. Nick Dacos, 76-94. If we look at in terms of fantasy here, Nick Dacos here, you'll see averaging 91 for the year, 76, so 23 times, about 0.85 for the cash drop. So that is 23 times 0.85. He's going to go down about 20k to 988 with a break even. If we look at this here, that doesn't really give us a good representation. I will do DFS for both SuperCoach and Fantasy because I think it is relevant. I tried to figure it out yesterday, last night during the game with some other guys on SuperCoach for Dacos's, what's his pricing going to be. So you've got here 3 games, 91 is in that. Let me just double check this just so that I know. He's got 4 games of so we got 4 games, so that should be a 76 here. So if we go Nick Dacos 76 there, and then we go, he's going to really struggle against Sydney, we expect, so maybe a 70, and then come roaring back against Brisbane. He's probably going to bottom out somewhere around that 960, 970 range, give or take. The 76 actually doesn't seem drop too much, surprisingly, which is kind of a surprise. Maybe the magic number is just slightly, but yeah, he should be somewhere around that. Let me just double check with him. He's got 7k for that price range, so that doesn't look right. But anyway, we'll see how he reacts to the price change this week. Then you've got also Dacos on here. He went, 94 in SuperCoach, so 94 for SuperCoach. You'll see he drops about 8k, but the next week we expect him to drop a 70 or so, which drops him to 975, and then even a 105, 110 against Brisbane. He's probably going to drop to, I would expect, maybe I'm being a little bit too conservative with these numbers of him really having stinkers, but he's probably going to drop into the 940s, 950s range, around that Anzac Day, round 8 range, which is always what I was sort of planning to get him at. That's when he's going to bottom out. Maybe you pick him up for Anzac Day, even though he might not hit his break even that day, but he might still just score a 140, which will get him right near his break even. So he might not necessarily, and I'll show you exactly what I mean in terms of this. If I can grab up the right number here for Dacos, exactly what I mean by this is that you might not necessarily grab him at the bottom of his price cycle. If we go, he scored a 94 in this game. So 94, then he scores, say, a 70 against Sydney, and then goes 119 against Brisbane. But then against Essendon, he would have, say he goes like a 105 against Brisbane. Let's just do this. He'd need a 135 to hold price against Essendon, but say he goes a 130 against Essendon, he's still going to technically go down in price. If I just blow this up for you guys, he's still technically going to go down in price by 4.9k here, but yeah, because his break even is 139, I believe. I'm not 100% sure on that. I think there's something wrong with that exactly, but you would see something similar with that is that a 130, say his break even is 139, he technically goes down a little bit in price, but then he's going to come roaring back. And you might get him for 4k cheaper or something a week later, but you've got the 130 score here. So is 4k really worth it for a 130 score against Essendon? I think that this is where I'm looking at Nick Dacos and going, he's going to bottom out somewhere in these two fixtures here. It's going to be awfully close in these two fixtures. For Essendon, he'd be at 533k, and for Geelong, he'd be 529, taking these assumptions into place. I think you can buy him at either week here, and you'd be as good off. So this is the real question, is what do you see him scoring against Essendon? If you see him scoring a 110 against Essendon, if we just go up here and show this, then you buy him against Geelong. But if you see him going that game-breaking VC category type of move against Essendon, or captaincy type of score against Essendon, that's when you get him against Essendon. But if you don't see him going, if you just see him going average against Essendon at like a 100, 110, then you grab him against Geelong. But I think you saw that when they don't apply a tag, he's going to have 40-point quarters. He had a 74-point second half, I believe it was. So that and that was somewhat through a tag. And he had a couple of free kicks against him that as well, which could have seen him push up towards that 100, 105 range. I thought he was going to go 100, 105, so I'm really tempted to just grab him against Essendon. I don't think Durham can do too good of a job. Chris had an alright game. McStay, Lipinski, Maynard, Moore. I thought Moore's game was really, really good, but just not SuperCoach or fantasy relevant. And then Jagowi subbed out on a 79 SuperCoach, so he did really, really well. It really, really impactful, I would say. Got caught holding the ball a couple of times, but 2 goals on 8 touches. He's just always going to be that impact player rather than the quantity, which is not what you really want. Then we go over to Carlton. Sammy Walsh led the fantasy scorers, 137. He had 31 touches, 7 marks, 10 tackles. Really, really impactful game from him. Will be interesting to see if some people buy or not. I don't think many will, just because if we look up Walsh here, I'll do it on SuperCoach, but I can, just for the fixtures' sake, just because it's so easy to look at the fixtures. He has West Coast, North, Geelong. This could be interesting, actually, just looking at this. I wonder what his price is in fantasy, I would say. He's going to be around about the 1 million marker. Can you actually grab him for that price? This will be interesting, this discussion here about this, because, yeah, that'll be interesting because he had a really good game, but does he keep it up? I don't know if he will. If we just go to Walsh again, I want to just see, he's averaging I think 100 on the year exactly, so he's really struggled outside of that to get the like you can see his 80 games and when he has the 5 or fewer tackles, and when he does go big with the tackles, he generally goes pretty big in general. 99 against Hawthorn and a 137 against Collingwood. He does have the easier game, so we'll see about that. Definitely intriguing trade talk this week, as he could be one that just goes 110 for the rest of the year. Doherty had, I think Carlton fans were very, very disappointed with this game, but yeah, definitely a 111-82 split, probably not the most efficient. George Hewitt, he did really well tagging Dacos, but when he was taken off Dacos had 8 disposals at 87% in the third quarter, and I think he had something like 3 or 4 score involvements in that third quarter and just broke the game open. absolutely broke it open in that third quarter. He had the opening clearance where Hewitt was on him for that, but then after that he didn't have anyone on him. It was like I think it was Cripper that went to him, and Cripper just got torched. If we go to third quarter, in total in the third quarter, Nick Dacos 9 disposals, of which 3 kicks, 6 handballs, and a tackle for 26 fantasy points. Of those 9 disposals, 4 contested possessions at 89%. So after that clearance, it was 8 disposals, 3 contested possessions, 87% disposal efficiency. And then you go down here. He had 1 behind, 1 goal assist, 2 score involvements, so that was just a goal assist in the behind. And then those pressure acts don't add up. And then I think he had, was it 2 clearances for the game or just 2 clearances in that quarter? Let me just double check with Nick Dacos. 2 clearances in that quarter as well, both of them being centre clearances. 1 tackle inside 50 in that quarter as well, and then a rebound 50, and then a free 4, and then 4 CBAs in that quarter, as there wasn't many CBAs. So you actually could get, with this game as well, there was only 18 CBAs, so there could be very wild disparities between the CBAs just because there were so low numbers. Let me just double check for you just to see this in terms of CBAs. You may see guys at random CBAs just because of the awkwardness of the CBAs. Chera was on the bench. Hewitt as well. I think that was more, he was just on the bench for a lot of them. That can happen very quickly. And then you've also got Nick Dacos 89%, Harry Perriman back in that role, etc., etc. You can see it there, right there. And that's that. So, down we go. Chera, 105.99. He had 3 plus 6s and or 2 plus 6s and a handball, and a plus 5 in the space of like a minute or 2, and that really just exploded his score, going to a 105.99. He's been outstanding for those owners, I feel like, on both platforms. Just not really an absolute outlandish pick, but just a really, really solid pick, I would say. I think he's averaging about 100 on both, which is plus 25 or so, which is just pretty damn good. It's one of the best out of those 700 to 800Ks on fantasy and 400s on SuperCoach. Holland's finally had a good game, had to kick 2 goals to get there. Koning got to a 101. I think he had 3 or 4 hit outs to advantage added after the game. As he was on 79 points, so now on 82. And yeah, just couldn't get involved in the non-disposal work. Had a couple of free kicks that I thought were a little bit dodgy. That probably restricted him to a 101 rather than a 110, 115. And then the 82 fantasy, that's a little bit annoying, but it was a down game. It's a tough game. He comes up against West Coast, I think, next week, so should be fine there. Has West Coast next week. He will go ballistic. That'll be a VC or captaincy material game for him. If we just go to round 5, you will see that he has the Saturday early game there, so you could actually look at that there as a VC opportunity, I would say, and then the captaincy come later in the week, probably with Sarong against Richmond, even though Richmond are tagging. And then that is basically it for them. They had no one else here, and no real rookies do Carlton have this year. So that's the video. A rather long one for a Thursday night review, but switching to the reviews, they'll get slightly quicker per game when we get to the Saturday and Sundays that have multiple games on them. So yeah, that is the video. If you guys did enjoy it, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload. If you guys are listening on Spotify, give me a follow and a rating over there, and I'll see you guys for the next recap tomorrow. Bye guys.